Mother-forking shirt balls. This is the bad place.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Sub Beacon. I'm Victor Matus along with Sonny Bunch and Jonathan V. Last. I'd like to remind you the Sub Beacon is available on iTunes and soon on Google Play. Just look at our podcast and search for Sub-Beacon or Subspace Beacon. You'll easily find us. Please subscribe, tell your friends, leave a review. Many of you already have subscribed and left thoughtful reviews, despite this being our first full episode, nearing 300 reviews thus far, but somebody already left us 2 stars.
I did see that. It's like we have like 300 5-star reviews and then one 2-star review.
Really?
Not even 1 star.
No,
which leads me to believe that it must have been a fat finger. They accidentally hit the thing. They don't know.
You know how it is.
So
it's a good point, Sonny.
Yeah.
So thank
Nobody
you.
could possibly hate us.
I mean, come on.
We're lovable. We're lovable scamps.
Thank you, all of you, for your support during this difficult transition and for spreading the word. I also want to warn listeners, this is our first, as I said, inaugural episode. So like all first things, it can be a little rough around the edges. Everyone's a little nervous. First-time jitters. It could be shorter than you expected. JVL, how are you?
Hey, guys. How were your weekends? Anything new in your lives?
No.
No?
What was going on with you?
Sonny, you?
I've got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to shoe shining.
Oh.
JVL. But we can we can work around to that.
Yeah. Go for it.
How are you, JVL?
You look well.
I have a lot of things that I want to get off my chest.
Oh boy.
So buckle up your chin straps now. Tired by an illiterate huckster. The single commonality is a donkey rape. It's harvest time on the monster farm, and can go out and pick out a nice fat to eat, and platypus-faced.
Okay, well, we're not going to be publishing any of that.
There's going to be a very long Buster bleep.
Yeah.
Arrested Development style, and people are not even the whole thing. Just a couple of words like platypus will come out.
No one's gonna top that.
No, well, that's wow, Sonny.
Tell me about your shoe shine, Sonny.
Well, I have a surprise for you guys.
Yeah,
I have a surprise for you guys.
Did you buy me a pair of firing shoes?
No.
Oh
no, but I did buy you a pair of firing socks.
Oh, Sonny.
These are actually Christmas presents for you, too.
Darn tough socks. Darn tough socks are awesome.
Darn tough socks.
I love
these are the socks that I wear when I wear my boots to keep my shins nice and cozy and my toes tootsie warm.
The wool socks are amazing. Are they
the
not?
merino wool. It's merino wool.
Fancy.
Make sure if you wash it, you wash it. I think it's on cold, but also don't dry it.
Never.
You gotta
like let it air dry.
Never.
Don't throw it in the dryer.
What happens? What happens if you throw it in the dryer?
They get very small.
They turn into gremlins.
They turn in. Yeah. But I remember once on a previous incarnation of this show,
and I love that's my color, brown.
Once on a previous incarnation of the show, JBL said that if he were a millionaire,
that's right,
the thing he would do is buy 1 billion pairs of socks, and just every day put on a new pair of socks and throw away the old pair.
Can I?
So I wanted to get something for JBL that would at least for one day approximate the feeling of being a billionaire.
Can I tell you something sweet? Over the last 3 weeks, our friends at the Sub Beacon Expanded Universe have sent a stream of Amazon packages to my house. All of which containing brand new pairs of socks. I have worn a new pair of socks.
Look at that.
Every single day for nearly the last month.
You're like Arthur Bach, he never wears a pair of clothes twice.
Amazing. It's really, really nice. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sonny.
Are they the SBEU now?
I believe that's under consideration in premium.
SBEU.
But I'm not privy to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Sonny.
So anyway, that was my...
Okay, great, thank you.
I don't actually have anything to say about shoe shiny.
Oh, you teased us.
Victorino, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm on Gout Watch. You know, it's...
Gout Watch.
Gout Watch 2018. we need that set. We
Bill
need
Hemmer.
Goldfarb's. We need Goldfarb's sound effects
We need
machine.
Bill Hemmer standing in front of like the touch screen, like pointing to different parts of the foot.
Parts, yes. Let us now go to the metatarsal. So, you know, everyone talks about how this is the most wonderful time of the year for gout sufferers, and there are many listeners out there who are gout
Where's
sufferers.
your ribbon?
It's right. It's on my toe. It's the most perilous time of the year.
Can I see it? No, I've never seen it. I'd like to see it.
No.
Take your shoe off. Let me see it.
No. That's
Take your clothes off. Take your clothes off, Vic.
We're going streaking.
Okay,
Come on, everybody. We're going streaking.
I mean, so far so good.
No, is it up though? Is the rock up?
No.
When it gets hard, I want to see it.
Well,
it is our first time, you guys.
It is. It's hard and red. So it's
Red Rocket.
It's you know, there's a little lump there, you know, but it's like it's just a dangerous time because of all the eating and drinking during the holiday season. And on Monday, I was at a very long lunch, and then my wife asked me, "Well, what exactly did you drink? Because you were gone for many hours." So I inventoried it, and this is what I had. So in case you're curious about, you know, getting the perils of getting through the week, I started with an old fashioned. That's fine. Then a glass of red wine. But there was like 5 of us, so, you know, I only had enough for like 1.5 glasses. And then after lunch, a Calvados, because I love it. That's A.J. Liebling's favorite after drink, you know, that apple brandy, delicious. And then I had kind of a nightcap at the bar. I had 2 Black Bush, because you know what they say.
I'm sorry, a nightcap on lunch?
For the record, it was a nightcap at about 2:30 in the afternoon.
I don't look at my watch.
3 in the afternoon.
And then I said, well, let's call it quits. And then we walked over to another bar, and I had an Oban. You know why I had an Oban?
Because you've been seeing ads for Oban in our elevator?
Yes, Sonny, yes. You know, it's only 208 steps away from the sea.
Look at that.
And then I had another old-fashioned. And then after dinner, I had Bailey's on the rocks. So just, you know, to cleanse the palate. But I'm hydrating. The key thing is I'm hydrating. Look at I got water right here.
So this is how things roll at the Free Beacon? Because it sounds pretty amazing.
Well, this week was a special.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right. That's right. But
it's been a series of rolling wakes.
Wakes. They have. That's what they've been. They've been rolling wakes
for the weekly standard.
And you know, we still have the next 2 weeks, and we got, you know, the holiday party is coming up, of course, and then I still have to break out Tom Abella's eggnog, right? And then my father-in-law, he'll want to throw it down, you know, over Christmas. But the good thing is, when I get to Jersey, there's not much drinking over there. That's not really. That's more of an eating culture at the old Matus house.
New Jersey's a dry state.
It kind of is. You know, I mean, there's a little bit of drink, but it feels weird when you're drinking. So that'll be good, you know, because you feel like you're the only one, but you're not. I mean, it's just so that'll be good for my gout.
Wait, question.
Yes.
Is the drinking worse for the gout than the food? Because I had always thought that the food
I've
was
had
the
a lot
problem.
of salt. It's a little bit of everything. So I do have to just
What did you have
keep
to eat at this lunch?
I had soup
and
some meat.
Oh, what kind of meat?
It's a 14-ounce New York strip.
Was it red? Was it red meat? What did you have for dinner? I actually don't know this. I'm curious to find out. What did you have for dinner?
I had fried oysters and a cheeseburger.
Those are all good for the gout, right? Those are like, if you went to the doctor and you're like,
yeah.
I need a diet to get me through a gout outbreak. Gout break.
I have tried. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and say, you know, today I'm going to be good. I'm going to have like a salad at lunch, and then I'm going to have like oatmeal or yogurt for breakfast, and then dinner. And then by 3 a.m., I'm climbing up the walls. Speaking of climbing up the walls, over the weekend, Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
That's strong. That is strong.
It took the top spot at the box office.
Did not see that coming.
Didn't you miss these transitions, folks? Top spot at the box office with $35 million, followed by The Mule with $17 million, and Dr. Seuss's The Grinch in third place with $12 million. Also of interest in fifth place was Mortal Engines at $7.5 million.
Ooh.
And in case you're wondering,
is that yes, good?
I think it's amazing. I don't have $7.5 million. It's got to be good. And in case I hope Hugo Weaving isn't waiting for points on that. But in case you're wondering, Bohemian Rhapsody is still in the top 10. It came in 7th with $4 million. They really pumped that box office for all it's worth, JVL. It's like they're squeezing
That's a load of money.
That's a load of money. They are squeezing out every last penny. Speaking of pennies, Penny Marshall. Oh, sorry. Transition overload. Okay. Box office thoughts.
Number one, it should be noted that A Star Is Born will clear $200 million at the box office. There was some doubt about this in this room. It's at
bad for your draft.
199.2 million right now. So
what do you say? Bad for your draft?
I think The Star Is Born was the blue chip and is now, I think, a dark horse for the Oscars.
Against
what is the favorite?
Green Book. Obviously, I'm sorry. The man of the people over here. The sitting across from you, the man of the people.
Episode, top 10, man. You know where that's going.
I would say, the most interesting story here is Mortal Engines, which grossed $8 million on a $100 million budget.
What happened? Why? What happened?
I honestly do not know what happened.
From the producers of The Fellowship of the Ring.
You would think that you have this. It's a name brand property. It's a YA book. Like, people know what it is. It has a pedigree. It has the Lord of the Rings. You know, Peter Jackson has been out there kind of flogging this, but nobody was interested. Nobody was interested in seeing it, which I find kind of surprising because the initial teaser trailer was actually pretty good with that kind of like creepy, old timey British song about. The Empire and all that. I thought it was good advertising, but then again, I also didn't go see it. So
yeah,
I don't know that anybody knew what the movie was about. I mean, this is when
City
I looked
I'll
at
tell you, for me, City on Wheels.
I mean, is it BioShock? Is it Snowpiercer? Like what's happening? Is it The Matrix? You know what I'm saying? I would say all three of those ideas were communicated without any clear sense of what is the story. And in movies like this, the story is the star, right? I mean, you have to... They're not selling you Tom Cruise in a role you've known before. It may be a YA book, which I had never heard of. But, you know, how big a following does this YA book have? It's not the vampire books.
Right.
So I don't know. Also, it's possible the movie was just bad, and that this is what happens to bad movies, right?
I bet it's a long movie.
Lots of bad movies make money.
I say bad, and Vic immediately equates that with length.
Yeah. I mean, come on, killing me here.
You know what they ought to do to get people like you, Vic? They ought to advertise the
runtime.
2
hours and 8 minutes, 128 minutes, too long.
Of my life that I can't get back.
Come see Predators. It's only 86 minutes.
You know what? I'd do it.
It was funny. I
realize it is one of the worst movies of the ever.
I was watching a movie last night because I'm gonna write something about it called Cold War. And it's not a movie that we will talk about because it is a black and white Polish movie set in the 1950s about the life of a musician in the Cold War.
I love that.
This sounds like it's right up Vic's alley.
But
I took not to interrupt just really quickly. I did 2 semesters of Eastern European history, and the second one was 20th century Eastern European history. And for some reason, I devoted. I always try to pick one course to do well on, and the rest of them I always end up doing very mediocre or just pass. And I decided that was going to be my A- course, and I watched every Andre Vina movie.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Sonny. Cold War.
Wajda, but
Vajda. I thought it was Vajna.
Vajda, not Vajna.
I thought it was Vajna.
Anyway, Cold War.
Yes.
The thing I appreciated most about this movie is that it's 88 minutes long. 88 minutes long.
That should be the name of it. Instead of
Cold
War, it should just be called 88 minutes.
88 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a very efficient movie. It's not like Roma, where I'm just sitting there waiting for things to happen eventually on the screen.
Yeah.
Is
it in select theaters?
It is playing in some theaters.
E Street kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's definitely an E Street sort of movie. But it was also produced by Amazon, so it'll be on Amazon Prime.
Oh, that's exciting.
In a couple months, I'm sure.
Good.
Anyway, Cold War.
Yay.
People should see it. I like it.
I would just have one more last
88
thing about
minutes.
Mortal Engines before we leave it. So what we could tell from the advertising is it's a movie about giant movable cities.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And the one-sheet posters are close-ups of a female actress who none of us have ever heard of before.
That's so, a like, problem.
Well, I mean, it's a they didn't know how to position the movie.
That's right.
Like, what is it a hero's journey or is it a dystopian future? Like, what is happening here? And they did not know it
or a heroine.
The last series of ads were much more explicit about this. There was like a voiceover that was like, "After the Great War, cities took to the land, the sea, and the air," and then it shows the cities on the various. It's basically like Avatar. Yeah. It's like dystopian Avatar. You have the tribes on land, and in the air, and on the sea.
I'd see that movie.
Anyway, you're going to see 5 Avatar movies coming up soon. So
awesome.
Also,
into my veins.
Can we also just note that the Mule?
Did
pretty well.
The Mule did fine at $17.5 million. The thing I was
most concerned.
It's because they didn't like critics spoil it for the audiences.
They didn't like critics spoil it for the audiences, but critics were also like positive on it. It's mixed positive. I think it's in the. It's like between 50 and 70% somewhere. I haven't seen where it is.
The words I was looking for when I was talking to you about Variety's review, the term that they threw around was casual racism. That's
casual racism. Casual racism.
Yeah, that's not good.
But the thing that jumps out at me about this film is that somehow it cost $50 million to make.
The Mule?
The Mule? Like, I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure that that money all went to Bradley Cooper for his 20 minutes of work.
No, and normally he's a very tight under budget kind of guy, right?
Well, I'm sure The Mule came in under its $50 million budget. But I just I'm not 100% sure, what the
location.
Hell or High Water, you make that movie for like $20 million.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything about in this that was necessirily.
We probably had to buy a lot of drugs.
That's true. You have to
buy
all the drugs.
Yes. Right?
Yes,
well,
that's right.
If there's anything we know about Clint Eastwood, it's that he is a neo-realist at heart. He's really...
have you seen it by now, Sonny?
I still haven't seen it. I want to see it. I've just been... It's busy time here at the Free Beacon.
It has, but you
too many lunches.
Lots of lunches.
Too many lunches is not good.
We're expanding our podcast empire.
We are. But you did
check out Ride and Rider.
There you go. You can say that without any issues. But you did see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
JVL.
I saw it.
I saw it too.
Did anyone else see it?
What? Who's here?
Oh, Gene!
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse takes our favorite comic book hero to new dimensions. Literally. The place is crawling with spider people like Spider-Man Noir, Peter Porker, and Gwen Stacy. Boy, would I like to spin some webs on her. Talk about a sticky situation. Finding out she was Spider-Woman was a seminal moment for the movie. Seminal. Anyway, you will marvel at this movie. I give it 4 stars, and I can't wait for the sequel. I hear the Kingpin buys the Daily Bugle, shuts it down, and steals the subscribers for his own paper, the Fiscal Report. But that's a story for another time.
I'm glad Gene was here. Everyone, we said we were starting the Sub Beacon, and literally all anybody wanted to know was if Gene was coming along too.
Yeah, he'll be back in February.
He demanded a big pay bump. He wanted,
he directed the teaser trailer. Perhaps you noticed that. Did you look at the credits?
I did notice that. Well, he's very talented.
Music by Remnant. Oh, come on.
Oh, yes, thank you.
I did like that we had Michael Caine, like the
without the E.
No, that's on purpose. But how about a real review, Sonny?
A big boy review?
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
We got plenty of time.
Yeah, we got a lot of time here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the animated feature from one half of the team that brought you 21 Jump Street and the Lego Movie, and it is fun.
And half of Han Solo?
This movie is fun. Well, yeah, like 1/4 of Han Solo, of Solo, a Star Wars story. Thank you. It's a lot of fun. So the setup is like weirdly complicated, but within the universe of the film, actually very simple. And it's going to take me longer to explain it to you than it will to make sense in the movie. But basically, the Kingpin has gained control of a device that will open up rifts in dimensions, and as a result of this, all sorts of Spider-Men from the multiverse converge on the Spider-Man universe where the real Spider-Man and also Miles Morales live. Now, Miles Morales, readers of comic books will know, is the ultimate Spider-Man. He was very popular with the young set, with the tweens and the millennials and whatnot.
He wasn't actually very popular.
Whatever. The point is, you have Miles Morales donning the mask of the Spider-Man and also teaming up with a bunch of other Spider-Man type figures. You had Spider-Gwen, and you have Spider-Man Noir, who was voiced by Nick Cage in this movie. Yeah. Very, very fun.
Very fun.
And all sorts of other like weird, kooky Spider-Man, including a fat, middle-aged Spider-Man, Peter B. Parker, who is voiced by Jake Johnson, and actually what is probably my favorite voiceover role in this whole movie. Like his tired, depressed Spider-Man is my favorite thing about the film. As I said, this movie is just a lot of fun. It is animated in this kind of in a very strange style, and I say strange just to mean different. It is the best way I can describe it is that it looks like a comic book from the 1970s or 1980s brought to life. It has kind of these overlapping colors and this slightly out of focus effect in the background, combined with this weird, almost dot matrixy sort of stippling in the animation that gives it a very tactile, very textured feel. Again, it feels like a comic book that has been brought to life, and it is still animated spectacularly with lots of motion and movement. It is, I would put it up there with The Incredibles 2 in terms of like how the characters actually move around the screen and how they the geometry of everything. It has a very good sense of how all that should work. I kind of loved it. I it is so different and so new feeling and so in tune with the way that the Spider-Man comic books work that I loved it. And I don't actually really like the Lord and Miller guys, right? I don't like 21 Jump Street. It's too kind of in-jokey and self-aware. I hated the Lego Batman movie, which is kind of another version of this sort of self-aware humor where they're like, "Hey, we're a comic book and we're weird and funny." But this works because it just accepts what the world that it is building is. It doesn't call attention to itself. It doesn't say, "Hey, I'm a comic book and we're weird and funny." It's just weird and funny. Mm-hmm. It's very well done. It introduces all of the characters. And there's a lot of characters to introduce, but it introduces them all with this kind of clever formula, like, as if we know all of their backstories and we know all of their origins, and they're just kind of tiredly explaining it to us again for the 100th time, like we've seen in all of these movies. The whole thing just works. I was shocked by how much I liked it because I was expecting to kind of hate it. Vic,
would you agree with Pod and that best movie of the year?
No, it's definitely not the best movie of the year, but it is the best comic book movie of the year.
Agreed.
It's the best. Certainly, I haven't seen Aquaman yet, so maybe Aquaman is better than this. But it's the best comic book movie of the year I've seen so far, and it's better than any of the MCU movies have been, except for maybe the first Avengers.
JVL. Your thoughts?
Certainly the best animated movie of the year, right? I mean, if this doesn't win best animated feature,
it's so different.
It just shows that the entire award system is bankrupt.
Phil Collins did win that for that song for Tarzan.
I have to disagree here. I do think Isle of Dogs has a very strong claim to best animated feature.
I guess that would be
that would be 1 and 2 for me. And if either one won, I would not be displeased.
It's just going to be Incredibles 2.
I don't think it is.
Well, just dominate it.
It could be. It could be because you know what Incredibles 2 has done.
$400 million
more
domestically. No,
keep going.
It's
I'll
funny.
offer this.
No, I've got it right in front of me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
$600 million. You know what? I mean, Incredibles 2
is... once and once was enough for me. It's not like, I want to see this again. Okay, fine.
The success of Incredibles 2 is... I think I've mentioned this on the show before. It's not baffling in the sense that it's a good movie. It's good. It's fun.
It's
Pixar.
made, as you would say.
It's history. It has a history. It has a brand name. People like the first Incredibles movie. They've been waiting for the sequel for 15 years or whatever. Like, it's fine, but I don't know that it's $600 million fine.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that, Vic, you really loved this movie.
I liked it a lot, but I wasn't. I kind of had my hopes up.
Yeah,
because I had seen what Pod said the best movie of the year, and Sonny really liked it. And it's rare that when I talk to Sonny that he actually really likes a lot of movies I like. He'll say are fine, and that's So I said, oh, maybe I'll really like it. It was enjoyable.
There's a butt. There's a butt coming.
Yeah, there's much like The Incredibles too, Sonny. You mentioned this. A lot of lights and strobes and flashing going on. I'm old. It's like, it's getting too dizzy here. That final, you should see Sonny's face just now. I was ready to show me out the door.
I'm cold and there are wolves outside.
It's getting like that. I'm like in the Simpsons retirement home.
I can't wait until
we're free. Let's go back inside.
I can't wait until the river outside of our office freezes again, because I'm just going to push Vic out into the middle of it and send him on an ice floe into the Atlantic.
Yeah, much like the guy with no arms and no legs in Buster Scruggs.
Yes.
And so, after a while, it's like, all right already. But that was at the end with the battle scene. I'm just not a fan of these long, drawn out battles. They don't do it. Just like at the end of Venom, that battle, Venom does not do anything for me.
Well, that was also just bad.
Yeah.
That was just
but the storyline was quite touching. And I thought it was poignant. And there was there was good messaging about fathers and sons and things like that. I thought it was very good, and very entertaining. I thought Spider-Man Noir was probably my favorite sort of surprise. I wasn't expecting that.
Anytime you can get Nick Cage doing like weird, goofy Nick Cage
things, and sort of,
he was Big Daddy. I mean, he was doing Big Daddy from Kick-Ass.
Well, no, because Big Daddy from Kick-Ass is Adam West.
No, it's Nick Cage.
No, but I'm saying he's doing Adam West.
Right. Isn't he doing the same
he's
thing
not. He's not really
thing?
doing Adam West here.
Well, whatever. I'm not gonna.
But people really, I tell you, that theater was packed.
Yeah.
Right. I brought my kids. They loved it. There was a guy. We were sitting just a little bit behind the middle section. There was a guy who was sitting, an older man. You could tell sitting towards the front. And he laughed at everything, and it was it's great when the audience is into it, but this guy was really into it, and he was ha ha. He was, okay, I guess.
Did you guys see it in 3D by any chance?
Oh no, I didn't. But you know what?
Did you?
I did, because it was just the only showtime I could make, and I was cranky about it, and it was sensational. I think the movie was built from the ground up to be 3D, and I now can't imagine seeing it not in just 3D. Flat. It was amazing.
JVL, there were moments when I saw this movie, and I had to look around to the audience to make sure that no one was wearing 3D glasses because there was some weird blur from time to time.
Yes. No, this is an intention. So the same thing happened to me. I was like, this is. It's clearly a stylistic choice.
Oh,
you're blurring the background.
They're blurring the backgrounds, which is fine. Which it took me a second to get used to it, but once I realized what they were doing, I was like, okay, the projector's not just out of focus, because this is always what's going on in the back of my head. Some fucking idiot in the booth has no idea what he's doing, and
they just put in the
and
wrong one.
It's out of focus. But JVL, so you saw it in 3D.
I saw it in 3D,
wow.
And it is the best kind of 3D, which is not like shooting stuff out at the screen at you, but is all about the foreground and the background, and rounding out the foreground. And it was just, it's maybe the most beautifully animated movie I've ever seen, and it's doing so much with people who are students of animation will go crazy for this, because you're getting like Looney Tunes and anime.
You're getting that.
Book. Then you're getting like normal CGI-ish Pixar-ish stuff. You're getting some live action stuff. I mean, it is like looking at a mixed media collage in many ways.
Mm-hmm. It feels very much like pastiche.
But pastiche that is done for a reason.
Yes.
It feels as though it is not pastiche for the sake of being pastiche, but every single thing being done there is done with choice.
That was not a derogatory.
And even for me, the part that I loved most about it is that they were even mixing comic book styles. Mm-hmm. So I would say the overarching comic book aesthetic is Alex Maleev, who you may know. He's most famous for his work on Daredevil, but he's also done Spider-Woman. He's this just sort of beautiful, very distinctive artist. When you see his work, like, you always know, oh, that's an Alex Maleev book. Mm-hmm. But then they have like Kingpin. The concept for the Kingpin character is basically Frank Quitely. who you probably remember from his like New X-Men, I think, run. And so the Kingpin character design is different from every other single character design in the movie. It's fabulous. I mean, everything about that. I did not like the characterization of Kingpin. That is not the Kingpin I prefer.
He was very large.
But I just meant the character Kingpin. But the character design, the concept of him as being just this giant thing where the head actually doesn't even have a neck in it, like the head sits down below.
Basically, kind of a.
I related to him.
Not a trapezoid exactly, but like almost like a diamond shape. It's very weird.
I found it disturbing that he had a wife and a child, and clearly. They had a child together. That's amazing.
So you
how did that happen?
You didn't like this family man version of Kingpin.
I prefer the quiet, urbane Kingpin, who actually loves ballet, loves the theater, loves literature, and happens to be a criminal mastermind.
Okay.
I do not, and I would say more of, which is different. So the Kingpins, there is a Spider-Man Kingpin who is much more like this, and then there's the Daredevil Kingpin, right? These are the two main books you see him in. And the Daredevil Kingpin is always... It's just the flavor of the character that I prefer. So I loved all of this stuff. I loved the characters. So Miles Morales is not. Miles Morales has a very small partisan set of social justice warrior types who love him for what he is. But in the comics has always been seen a little bit as a usurper by most fans. This characterization of Miles Morales was fantastic.
Yes,
right? Who couldn't root for this version of the character? And there were times when, like frequently, when I just sat back in my seat and marveled at how lush this canvas was. I mean, in a way, it did feel like you were looking at a series of unbelievably beautiful paintings.
Well, this is, again, it feels...
However...
It feels very much like a comic book in that you could go frame to frame and think of them as panels almost.
And they do a lot of stuff with panels, right? And they, every once in a while they're throwing little, like, tick, 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 like, onomatopoeia words on the
captions. The captions, like you're going through page by page.
But
that said, as I left the theater, I found myself liking it a little bit less. The finale in the Super Collider is essentially like a Laser Zeppelin show acid trip. And I think is destined,
as I said,
is destined to become a stoner classic. On home video. And at the end of the day, it's an origin story. And they try to have it both ways. They try to have it so it's an origin story that's not an origin story. And they go to great lengths to try to subvert the genres of the origin story. So, like when he's discovering his powers and we're getting a montage of that, they subvert it by making it all go kooky, right? Like where he runs to the top of the building, he's going to jump out, he looks down, he's like, this is crazy, and finds a smaller building. Except that then when the chips are down, it just goes back to giving us a mastery of power montage. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a weirdness. And at that point, like, why did you waste the time subverting?
But it also subverts the idea of the origin story by making 5 other origin stories part of the origin story.
Correct.
Which I really liked. I thought it was clever. I thought it was well done. I thought it hammered home the point that I don't think they were trying to hide that it was an origin story.
No, I agree. No, I agree with all of that. What I'm simply saying is that there are limits to what an origin story can give you as an idea. And because, what it is, it doesn't really have an idea. It's an origin story. It's trying to set up characters. And that this is essentially what it is. Like, when you strip everything else down from it, it's an unspeakably beautifully made origin story. And that imposes a ceiling on it in terms of, like, how powerful it can be and how much it's going to reward repeated viewing. That's that I love it. Love strong. I liked it a great deal.
I was disappointed that the Scorpion looked the way he did. I like the old Scorpion.
You're an Electro guy. What do you...
I am, but I like the old villains. I used to have this old, not a comic book, but you would get these little, like, novella-sized books for Spider-Man sometimes, and I had one, and they had to take on, like, 3. He had to take on Electro, Mysterio, and Scorpion.
I may have owned that exact
it's a great one, and where he takes on the 3. Maybe the Green Goblin was there somehow, but I remember that, and so in my mind, the Scorpion's always the green guy, wearing the green with the club tail. Not with no stinger on it, He's just
not electricity.
Nothing like that. And he spoke Spanish.
Yeah, well, that's like the new Ultimate Spider-Man. Scorpion, right?
Did not know that.
This was also in Spider-Man: Homecoming. The guy who will become
yes, that's
Scorpion
true.
is. One small thing that I liked, the inclusion of Tombstone, who was always one of my favorite, random.
I liked having Tombstone there.
Again, this felt very much like a comic book from about 1985. When again,
but with the art
was
of late 90s,
but with
early 2000s.
with kind of a
hyper
modern,
stylized,
kind of more modern, ultimate feeling of to the art.
Who's the big winner of superhero movies in 2018? I think it's got to be Sony and the Spider-Man project. So all of a sudden, after the disaster of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, with the then aborted Sinister Six movie, where it looked like Spider-Man was a dead piece of IP, they roll out Spider-Man Homecoming last year, Venom this year, and then just a few weeks later, Into the Spider-Verse, and they're hitting very different quadrants.
Yeah, and they were all in message because you said that at the end of Venom, they had the teaser.
They had
at
the
teaser
very
for
this. I mean, Venom has grossed $850 million worldwide. This is Into the Spider-Verse is starting more slowly, but I would not be
35 is modest, but
I would not be shocked if it gets up to the same basic domestic total as Venom.
This is going to hang around.
It's going to hang
around because it's a kids' film.
Kids love it.
This is a totally safe film to take kids to.
Yeah.
And this is going to play all through December, all into January as people want to take. And then on home video,
if it drops more than 20% this week, I'd be shocked.
I would be very surprised. And it also shows how infinitely flexible the Marvel intellectual property is. So what has Marvel done recently with their intellectual property? They have a giant event movie like Infinity War. They have had a successful R-rated action comedy in Deadpool, a kid-friendly animated version of one of the characters with Spider-Man, a serious R-rated movie of ideas with Logan. They have this Forever franchise that expands all the way to the horizon with a shifting cast of characters in X-Men. And they have these one-off minor character mid-budget films like Doctor Strange. The only thing they haven't tried yet is highbrow Oscar bait. And I assume that they'll get around to that eventually. But this is the most valuable intellectual property on the planet. And the fact that Disney was able to steal this for however much it was, $6 billion, $4 billion, is the bargain of the century.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to the point, who would have imagined 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that Marvel would be exponentially more valuable than the Star Wars franchise?
My hand is up.
Aside from Cassandra over here.
Okay, yes, really, you are. I remember reading in those Gotham edition daily varieties that we used to get, JVL, and following the travails of Marvel. And at the same time, Harvey Comics. They always link the Harvey Comics travail and also Marvel. Nobody wanted it, I mean, who's gonna? And then they bought it for a song.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts?
No. I mean, I would just say that I do think this. Again, I think this is the best comic book movie of the year, and I think it transcends its quality as an animated film and should be nominated for Best Picture if you're going to nominate a comic book movie for Best Picture this year.
I would put it very closely behind Black Panther, which I just loved. I'm not even trolling. I legitimately loved Black Panther, one of the top 3 or 4 movies I saw this year.
I was rewatching it, and I tell you, the last hour looks so bad, just looks bad, that I couldn't get past it. It just, the CGI is all very cheap looking. The fights are all very cheap looking, and even that much ballyhooed fight scene in the casino, it really, look, I didn't like it in the theaters because I could tell where it was stitched together, where the single shot was merged into another single shot to create a faux single shot effect. The whole thing is good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. But at the end of the day, it's a MCU kind of standard flick.
I have an industry question for you boys.
Yes.
3 credited directors.
I saw that
on Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Aren't there guild rules about how many directors can get a credit, or does that break down at animation?
No.
Is it different for live action versus animation?
I have no idea how this works. If there was a director for the voice work, if there was a director for the animation, if there was a director, I don't know how it works.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
All right. Well, That's a short episode. Well, I told you it'd be shorter than you want it to be because it's the first time. Do you have any other corrections or additions? Anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. I just have one thing, which is a couple listeners on Twitter pointed out that you guys missed my my erudite reference in the Aquaman China discussion about the islands coming out of the ocean.
I knew you were talking about the Senkakus.
The Senkakus, but I just want listeners to not confuse.
The what?
The Senkaku Islands, not to be confused with the Bukkakis, because that's a whole different island chain. If China gets them, the Japanese are going to be coming from all sides, JVL. Just wave after wave. It's going to be the loss would sting. Just coming in every direction. Okay. That's really all the time, I guess, we're giving to this early episode. Questions, comments, complaints, compliments. Tweet us at Victorino Matus, at Sonny Bunch.
At JV Last, who has abandoned Twitter, but he will come back.
He'll come back.
Like MacArthur.
I am going to come back. Actually, I'm going to come back with a brand new strategy.
A brand new social strategy?
My brand new social strategy is I used to be a never block guy.
Never
block anybody.
Never block.
And I'm going to turn into always block.
Always block.
So I would say I'm going to treat Twitter as if Twitter works for me, and I am going to block instantly any person who does not give me joy.
I think that's fair. That's reasonable.
We'd never be able to do this on the air, but I'd love to play the game of guessing who, and I already have like at least 10, 20 people I can just throw up on that
20?
1,000. Again, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and soon Google Play. Just type in Sub Beacon under podcasts. We're there.
We'll be on Stitcher, too, eventually. I know.
Good.
It's funny. There are approximately 7 people in the entire universe who use Stitcher, and they all email
They're all
me.
Friends of ours on Twitter.
They all tweet at me whenever we are, It's very. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it is 95% of people use Apple to get this podcast. Yeah. And I hear from every single other member of the remaining 5% when the show is not available immediately on
I would think that
Google
we would
Play
be in favor of small but deep pockets of passionate fandom. No?
I'm not criticizing. I'm very glad. Very glad.
Those people can also reach us by emailing us at subbeacon@mindspring.com.
At altavista.net.
At altavista.net. Excite at home. Okay, so leave a review. Tell your friends. Until next time.
I don't know if we're gonna have. Are we gonna have music here?
I don't know what's going on. This is all still,
the excite.com. That's where you go to get to the Senkaku Bukkake Islands.
JVL.
So I had something happen to me last night that I cannot remember. It must have happened before, but every single trailer that played before Spider-Verse looked like garbage.
Oh, awful. They were the worst.
Like the movies themselves just look bad?
Yes.
Well, they are advertising movies that are coming out in like January, February, March.
But the worst.
Bumblebee. Boy, Bumblebee does not look good.
Well, I don't know.
Really? I thought the Bumblebee trailer's pretty good.
Bumblebee does not look good.
I think teens might like, guys might like that movie. Thank you, Sonny. The worst one, and I had told my kids about this before going into I was just complaining at random of the trailer I had seen.
When I was a kid, we used to have trailers that were great.
Now they suck. And in fact, the trailer came up, and it was that all dogs find their way home.
Oh my God!
I said, guess what, kids? I said, the trailer's so long. I don't know who the woman's voice is, but it seems so fake, like it can't be real. Where the dog has that voice, like, "Hi, my name is whatever, and I love my master," and is like, "I love."
So they made that movie already in like 1982. It's
not only that, but in the end,
Way Home or something.
In the trailer, yes, that's right, JBL. In the trailer, the dog loses his way, and his master, he can't find her, and then at the end of the movie, she comes back and he says, "You're back," and I said, "Hey, kids, we just got a free movie."
I'm sure that's fine.